So we're doing a video response this week. Yay! I don't have an intro. I'm very tired. Let's just roll the intro.
No.
You have been warned. Let the demonetization process begin!
We need to talk about the problem with white feminism.
Do we now? Do we absolutely need to?
What's white feminism? Although there are different definitions.
What? Damn woman, English much?
Basically, we're talking about white, cis, able-bodied women not acknowledging the struggles of women of colour, people with disabilities, and LGBT communities.
I see. When we're talking about the equality of the sexes, it is absolutely imperative that the topics such as women of color and people with disabilities and the LGBT communities are included under that umbrella of equalities of the sexes. I wonder what you spend most of this video talking about. Obviously, the broad stroke conversation about women as a whole should take up other cases because they have nothing better to do, like, I don't know, advocate for women's rights and freedoms in countries where they get none.
Want an example? How about the actor Gal Gadot, who constantly talks about feminism and equality? She played Wonder Woman and is also a feminist ambassador for Revlon.
A feminist ambassador for Revlon. Obviously that makes her opinion, more important somehow? Okay, sure. Yeah. I guess if I advertised makeup to women as well, I too would be more important with the women folk in the designated women's movement. Maybe?
And I always feel like there's such misunderstanding about what feminism actually means. For me, it's all about freedom of choice.
But the actor also supports the Israeli army, which oppresses Palestinian women on a daily basis.
Now, I may or may not be mistaken, but I don't think I am. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not one between simply that of the Israeli army and Palestinian women solely. Am I correct? I think I am. I believe it's a conflict between Israel and Palestine, and unless I'm mistaken, Gal is Israeli, making her by your own admission simply a patriot. Especially since you're bashing Gal for her very thin connection to a government oppressing women, as you so put it. That's very rich coming from the likes of an AJ Plus host. But we'll get into that.
See the disparity?
No.
I think white women ignore issues related to women of color because, it doesn't resonate with them. It's not their issue. It's not their concern.
It's not that they ignore. It's more that they don't care. Savvy? At least they don't care as much about your issues that you face as much as they do their own, which is entirely acceptable, and I'd even go as far to say laudable. You should put yourself first in all things before you even consider helping out other people, because you're not going to be able to do anyone any good unless you start with yourself first. Does that make sense? Yes, it's selfish. It can be if you look at it like that, but to be quite frank, it's more practical, and more than that, it's entirely a human thing to do. I don't see you caring about other people's problems more than your own. Do you concern yourself with the issues white women farmers face in, say, South Africa? No, because it doesn't affect you. You don't care. Your issues to you are more important than those issues, and that's the simple fact of the matter. I'm not going to fault you for that. Sorry.
They don't experience what we experience, therefore they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to feel our issues and concerns.
The absolute level of projection right here and now is absolutely astounding. Absolutely.
Western feminists ignoring the struggles of women who aren't white has a real-world impact.
Why? Because white women somehow have some magical power to change the world more so than any other race or creed of woman. That's bigoted of you, isn't it?
For example, let's take the gender pay gap.
This has already been debunked countless times, not even by just me, by everyone who's ever dabbled in the question before. Skip!
But women of colour have it way worse, especially black women. Black women are paid 63 cents for every dollar paid to a white man.
So guess what? It's actually illegal for employers to pay you based on your sex, gender, whatever the fuck terminology you want to use. See the Equal Pay Act of 1963. So half of that argument is out the window. Now let's address the other side of this. But they can pay you based on your merit and qualifications, and noting that black students have a BA completion rate within 6 years of private, not-for-profit, 4-year public, 4-year, and private for-profit of 45%, 39%, and 16% respectively, we can see why. Especially when compared to the rate among white non-Hispanics being 67, 57, and 26%, respectively.
In fact, black women in the US face racism in every walk of life. They're more likely to live in poverty, are paid less, and black women are less likely to hold management positions.
Do you know what they're also more likely to be? Single mothers, which means that they have less time to educate and dedicate themselves to their studies, which means that they're less educated. Yes, I know. Shocker. Which means that they have lesser paying jobs, which means that they don't make as much, which puts them in the impoverished area. Good there.
And white women don't seem to be learning their lesson.
How is any of this a lesson that white women need to be learning?
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now.
The original This Is America video by Childish Gambino tackled serious issues black people are facing in the US.
I think I know where you're going with this. I get $10 if she says something about Nicole Arbor. $10, no less.
Including racism and police brutality. But Canadian comedian Nicole Arbor completely overlooked that by mocking the oppression and the suffering of black people when she did her parody video.
Fuck yeah, what did I say? Pay up, bitches. Was she mocking it, or was she co-opting it for views and the sweet, sweet feminist gold star monies? Yeah,
Don't catch you climbing up. Don't catch you climbing up. Cause they'll get you.
I thought both music videos were pretty wonky. Not my cup of tea, to be quite honest. I prefer my women and men folk of all skin types to be silent. But that's just me.
I think one of the main things that white women ignore is the trauma and abuse that they inflict upon women of color and people of color in general.
Literally, how? Also, who the fuck are you? Seriously, who the fuck is this random black chick in this video? Why do we care about her opinion? Who is she to the rest of the world?
And I think it's problematic because we can't get to a place where we're actually able to trust white women.
Roll the clip, me in the future.
The westernized feminism that you've probably heard about has historically been white.
Westernized feminism. You mean the OG feminism, the feminism that started it all. Feminism 1.0, the Django Fett of all feminists. If anyone was wondering what self-cannibalism looked like, take a cold hard look right now until you're accused of sexual assault. And then hashtag me too.
Like Susan B. Anthony of the suffragette movement. Those suffragettes who we learn about in school tirelessly fought for the white woman's right to vote, even if that meant not giving black men the same rights. I mean, Susan B. Anthony literally said she would cut off her own arm before she let black men vote.
But that's not the full quote, is it? Is it? It's this. Quote, I will cut off this right arm of mine before I will ever work or demand the ballot for the Negro and not the woman. Bit of a difference in intent there, isn't it? And in quote, that's a tad bit disingenuous of you, AJ Plus, who is funded by Qatar, the sovereign state that advocates for the stoning of the women folk and such. Did I say too much? Are you gonna lash me 100 lashes a bit? Maybe rate me for good measure for being a bad girl.
So going off history, is it time that white feminists started facing up to the fact that they still have privilege and that women of colour face more struggles than they do?
This oppression Olympics you got going on here is not going to end well, has not gone well, and has been an utter shit show up until this point. And frankly, I'm just enjoying the ride. I don't care anymore. I'm dead. The inside of me is cold and empty, and I have nothing left to give. But let's get back to it.
And that brings us to intersectional feminism, which is a term coined by civil rights advocate Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989 to describe how mainstream feminism was excluding women from different backgrounds and their experiences of discrimination.
This is why I'm not part of feminism or any activist political ideological group for that matter, just FYI. This is why. Because it will always break down to smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller subgroups. So we have the Republicans, and then we have the Tea Parties, and the Libertarians, and then we have the Democrats, and the Liberals, and the Social Democrats, and then we have the atheism, and the skeptics, and the atheism plus. It's all the same. Just do you, boo. Whatever makes you happy. Whatever floats your goat. I don't give a fuck. So long as it doesn't infringe upon my happiness, we gooch. If it does infringe upon my happiness, we're gonna have a duel to the death. Just so you know.
What might have happened had enfranchisement truly been universal? If women's power wasn't seen and celebrated as white women's power? If feminism had been seen early on as incorporating all women, Black and immigrant, Native and Asian? If anti-racism had been seen as incorporating all people of color, men as well as women? What might have happened? And where would our culture be now?
You're right. Women's rights was a mistake. And so were men's. Let's take it back to monarchy. No, you know what? That's not far enough. Let's take it back to tribalistic nomadic ruling. No? Let's go even further. Asexual reproduction of single-cell organisms. They have nothing to complain about. You happy?
If we don't acknowledge that there's a clear divide between the advancement of one group over the continued systematic oppression of people of colour, then is there something really wrong with how we progress as a society?
And I just gave you the solution. Reverse evolution.
Oftentimes, white women know that they have played a role, that they have actually been complicit in our suffering.
She makes a compelling point. I did suffer through Nicole's video. It was emphatically a struggle.
And therefore, they don't want to take the time nor take on the responsibility of having to admit their role and then the responsibility that they have to correct their behavior.
But you cannot tell me that Nicole is an accurate representation of all white women. I, for one, would never do something so...
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard and they're like...
cringy.
So what can white women do to change mainstream feminism?
Genocide, nuclear winter, black plague, mass syphilis infections. I could go on. I have solutions. They're final solutions, but I have them. If you want them, hit me up. Weebo0jones@gmail.com.
Actor Emma Watson recently acknowledged her privilege in a letter to her book club.
Her book club, well then we know. It's super big time legit big deal, don't you know?
When she said she should have been asking how she benefited from being white.
I think the only thing that white women can do to change mainstream white feminism is to step back and center the voices of women of color. Get up from the table and make space for those people who are truly impacted.
So you want a certain race of people to sit down and shut up because a certain other race of people has more of a place to speak on certain issues than the first race of people. You know, there's a word for that, I believe.
Listen, we're living in a time of more and more activism, with Me Too, Never Again, and the Women's March.
Yes, all of those hashtags which I vehemently avoid using in the intentional and legitimate senses unless I'm intentionally being an asshole.
People are demanding reform and change and justice. But if you want to be a part of the fight for women's rights, don't forget women of colour. Because if some women are getting ahead by putting others down, it's not Me Too, it's not equality, and it's definitely not sisterhood.
How very, very interesting that you would say that. If you like what I'm doing here, you can check out the links in the description to my Amazon, Patreon, and Teespring. If you maybe don't like me that much, that's cool. You can always like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, don't forget to hit that bell. You you need to hit the bell in order to get actually notified whenever I make a video. Finally, if you want to see more of me, maybe not within the video capacity where I do this shit, but somewhere else, I do an RPG-esque stream show every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Magaga Morscar's channel, and a bi-weekly stream about the news, advice, and the going-ons, and more Sundays and Wednesday nights from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Some Dumb American on her channel. Links to both of those in the description down below. That is all, I think. I hope. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of exit stuff. Anyway. Toodaloo.